let me get to our next speaker. You've all heard a lot from me this morning. The next speaker is really the keeper of the flame at KPMG for HITEC. She's a very good friend of mine, a very fun person, by the way, I might say. And she ran our risk consulting business at KPMG. And by the way, I still say are, we, et cetera. I don't know. It's not curable. She did that. She also ran all of the risk consulting that we did for one of our very largest clients, Citigroup, traveled all over the world. In fact, when we first got to be friends, I would see her pictures in like every country. And I would say, man, I want to go do that. Why are you like in Thailand one day? And well, she was all over the world doing her job. From there, she ran our risk consulting business. Then she had what I considered, because I watched her on Teams, a really hard job. She was our national managing partner for the advisory business during COVID. And this woman would be on calls every day motivating our advisory practice about how do we work smart? How do we work from home? Oh, yes, you're getting tired of being on the phone. Let's just do 50-minute calls rather than hours. She had every kind of speaker come in and talk to motivate the troops. And I think she found out, I'm not speaking for Sandy, but I think she found out that there was this burning passion in her around people and culture and work of the future. And guess what? She became the vice chair of talent and culture at KPMG. And I am so pleased to introduce her. Her name is Sandy Becerra-Torcia. She's a friend. She's a big advocate for HITEC. People say I'm the reason we're here. Well, it's really Patricia Rios, but it's also Sandy who helped me make it a reality because she was still inside of KPMG and could do it. So a warm welcome, please, for Sandy.
That was awesome. Thank you. Oh, well, it is so exciting to be here with you all this morning, and I'm going to start by officially welcoming you to Lake House. This place is pretty amazing, and I heard from so many of you last night that you were enjoying the facilities, and I hope you continue to enjoy them throughout the time that you have here today. KPMG is thrilled to be sponsoring the HITEC Summit this year, and we're even more thrilled to be hosting it here at our cultural home, Lake House. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes, but I want to start by thanking HITEC. I want to thank HITEC not only for all of the work that HITEC does every single day to advance the mission, but also for this conference, this summit that all of us are here for the next couple of days to enjoy. And then lastly, I want to thank HITEC for the partnership that HITEC has with KPMG. It has been super impactful to us, and I'll talk in a few minutes about some of the ways that impact has shown. So round of applause for HITEC for everything that they do to advance their mission. Second, I wanted to do my HITEC check-in. I know several faces in the crowd, but I'm so anxious and interested to get to know more faces in the crowd, so I thought I'd do my HITEC check-in this morning. I am the granddaughter of Mexican immigrants. I am also a first-generation college student. I was a risk technology consultant for 25 years at KPMG. And as you heard from Miriam, I recently moved into my current role as the Vice Chair of Talent and Culture at KPMG. And that is one of the reasons why HITEC's missions, well, several of the reasons why HITEC's mission is so important to me. And it's not only important to me, but it's also important to our firm. We have an initiative firm-wide called Accelerate 2025. And Accelerate 2025 is our firm's commitment to advancing our goals and objectives around attracting, retaining, and developing diverse talent. Our partnership with HITEC really does align with our aspirations. It enables us to work with all of you on various programs to advance Hispanic representation. It also, a couple of examples of those programs include the HITEC KPMG Board Readiness Program, as well as the HITEC Emerging Executive Program. Those two programs align with our core values. Two of those core values in particular are together and for better. It also aligns with our strategy to support our people's growth and our people's development. So we are really looking forward to continuing that partnership with HITEC and to continue the collaboration with all of you. We really can make an impact. We've already made an impact together, and part of that impact is driving innovation. Speaking of innovation, it is so fitting that we're here at KPMG's Lake House. When I think of innovation, one of the first things that I think about is Lake House, because this is a brick and mortar building that really is KPMG's cultural home. It's our cultural home, but it also is a place that drives innovation, that drives creativity, that brings together diversity of thought and diversity of experience. KPMG had the opportunity last year to celebrate our 125th year anniversary. And this Lake House not only represents that rich 125-year history, but it also, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, it represents the future. It represents that diversity of thought. It represents innovative solutions going forward, different perspectives, different backgrounds. And every single time I walk through the doors at Lake House, and I walk through the doors at Lake House quite frequently, every single time I am just inspired by the conversations that happen in the hall, the learning that happens in the classroom, and everything in between. And I hope you are as well. One of our firm's strategic priorities is unlocking the power of our people. It is all about ensuring that our people get the right opportunities, that they have the right resources, that they're engaged in the right way to really not only inspire talent to join our firm, but to inspire our talent to stay with our firm or to go off and do other amazing things. Our investment in this facility here, our Lake House, is an example of that commitment to ongoing growth and development of our people. This is a place where learning just exists in everything we do. As I said, innovation's everywhere. Our culture is shared throughout and our people are inspired. So I encourage you, as I said a few minutes ago, to enjoy this facility. I was gonna say don't eat all of the snacks because you'll regret that later, but why not? Eat all the snacks and then go to the gym tomorrow. So let's pause for a brief video about Lake House. I think that deserves a round of applause. All right, so moving on to the topic of my discussion with you all this morning, and there's really two pieces of this topic all around emerging technologies and generative AI, and the two pieces that I'm going to focus on are how technology like AI can impact the future of work. It's a really important topic and it's really timely right now. It's also something that I'm so passionate about given my background in technology as well as my current role related to talent and culture. We're also going to talk a little bit about how values and culture can really set the stage for driving innovation and driving adoption of emerging technologies. So that's what I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or so focusing on. As I mentioned, a really timely topic, a really important topic. We are, and I know everyone in this room knows this, but we're in the midst of a very significant shift. AI is going to have resounding long-term impacts on so many things, but in particular, it's going to have impacts on how we all work. It is a global phenomenon. It is there have only been a couple of times in history where we've seen a technology event like this really impact the entire world, really not since the implementation of the internet. So I can say, and probably many of you as well, that this is moving faster than any technology I've experienced in my lifetime. And Gen AI is different than what we've seen in the past. It processes natural language, it can analyze large amounts of data, and it can produce unique content. This spurs innovation across the board in all kinds of roles across the entire organization, and it creates opportunities. It creates opportunities to augment knowledge work. It creates opportunities to drive growth. It creates opportunities to enhance efficiencies. But there are also a number of questions, uncertainties, and risks, especially at this stage in the adoption, that we all need to be aware of. KPMG recently did a survey of executives at large US companies, so companies with revenues over $1 billion. And I wanted to share some of the results of that survey with you because I think they're really, really important to understand. So 77% of the individuals that responded to the survey said that Gen AI is going to have a larger societal impact over the next 3 to 5 years than any other technology. Not surprising, right? I see a lot of nods. 65% say it's going to have a high or extremely high impact on their organization. Again, not surprising. There was a lot of optimism about the opportunities to increase productivity, optimism about the ability or opportunity to change the way people work, and really to encourage more innovation. But most organizations don't have a clear picture today of how they're going to use AI. So 60% said that they're still 1 to 2 years away from implementing their very first Gen AI solution. And less than half of the respondents to the survey said that they feel they have the right technology, the right talent, and very importantly, the right governance in place to do what they need to do. So there were a couple of barriers that were cited as part of this survey. 2 of the barriers were the cost and the lack of business case. So while lots of anticipation about the opportunities, most companies haven't gotten to the point where they have developed business cases to support investments in this technology. And then there were some concerns that were raised around things like cybersecurity and data privacy. Figuring those things out is key to being able to leverage AI to its full extent. So a lot of excitement around the possibilities of AI on how we work, the work that we do, the growth that we can achieve, but also some uncertainty that we need to be aware of. KPMG is making significant investments in an AI-powered future, and a couple of things that I'll talk about, but the reason that we're making these investments is we know that there's going to be disruption. There's going to be disruption within the walls of our firm. There's going to be disruption within the walls of all of your organization. There's going to be disruption to individual people. There's going to be disruption to our entire profession as well as to society. And so that requires investments. Again, capitalizing on the opportunity that I've been talking about, it is so critical that we invest. This notion of investing to create sustainable value for our clients and, very importantly, creating rewarding careers for our people. So in July, KPMG announced a significant expansion of our relationship with Microsoft, and that was really geared towards driving AI solutions for our clients. And then very recently, we created a new AI-focused leadership role. We named advisory partner Steve Chase as our Vice Chair of AI and Digital Innovation. Steve is here with us today, and you're going to hear a little bit more from him in a few minutes. But this investment with Microsoft, the creation of this new vice chair level role in our firm, that just demonstrates not only the investments that we're making, but the commitment that we're making to get this right. So we are really excited about what this means for the future. So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, 2 topics that I'm going to focus on today. One is, the impact of Gen AI on how people work. And then the second one is how you can lean into culture and values to create this culture of innovation and to speed adoption of this technology. As technology professionals, everyone in this room understands that this isn't just about upgrading or using the latest technology. It is about rethinking the workforce, reshaping the workforce to take advantage of the opportunities that it creates. This is really important to me in my role as the Vice Chair of Talent and Culture at KPMG, because we always talk about how it's not a technology problem, it's a business opportunity. This change, working through this change, experiencing all of the benefits of this change is going to require very close collaboration between talent leaders, technology leaders, and business leaders to get it right. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the roles that each of those individuals play in a couple of different areas. Let me start by talking about the role that your talent professionals play in the adoption of emerging technologies. This is a really great opportunity for talent leaders to step up as strategic advisors. Talent organizations have been talking very recently for the past couple of years, really since we went through COVID, as to how we can step up to be a more strategic enabler of the business. And this is a really important time to do that. In fact, I don't think we can achieve the objectives that we are set forth to do with Gen AI without these close partnerships between HR, technology, and the business. HR becoming an innovation hub, so driving new ways of thinking, deconstructing roles and outdated structures, outdated roles, outdated ways of doing things. That is an important part of this process. And within KPMG, we created a new capability, and that capability is called workforce innovation. And I share this with you because I think it's something that has already helped us tremendously and can certainly help each of you in your own organizations. But workforce innovation, we created it to really evolve how we respond as a firm to transformational changes like this one. We are reimagining how to build and deploy talent solutions for the business. We are reimagining how we serve the firm in a more innovative way through experimentation, through incubation. We're also thinking about how we prepare ourselves to be a great place to work, not just for today, but for the workforce of the future. When you think about Gen Z, the alpha generation, they've grown up in a digital world. How do we leverage those capabilities for better in the future? So that's just one example of how to leverage your talent professionals to drive innovation. There are many org structures, many approaches that you can take to doing this, but there are a couple of different areas that you can work together to drive effective adoption of technologies, and I'm going to cover 5 of those. So the first one is talent planning and workforce shaping. Really important topic. So I said this a few minutes ago, but I'll say it again. Talent leaders helping deconstruct the work, understand what individuals are doing, and rethink how people do their jobs. You can't rethink how people do their jobs without having a great understanding of what the jobs are today. And believe it or not, most organizations don't have a great understanding of those jobs. Looking at front office, middle office, back office, and identifying those roles that have the most impact, those roles that have the most opportunity to leverage emerging technologies. You might see a shift in skills, a shift away from doing more transactional things, freeing up that time to do more creative and strategic things. And I'll talk about that in a few minutes in a little more detail. One example at KPMG that we've seen is rethinking the role of an audit associate on an audit engagement. So if you think about the role of an audit associate, one of the things that they do prior to the beginning of an engagement is a lot of research around what's going on in that organization's industry, a lot of research around what's going on within that organization themselves, looking at all of the financial information to derive conclusions that inform a risk assessment to drive the work that we do. So lots of time spent up front traditionally on these engagements. Well, imagine if we were able to use Gen AI to do a lot of that work for us, to provide us the insights and information, to point us in the directions. Obviously, there's a whole lot of governance and risk things that we would need to be concerned with. But using Gen AI to shortcut that front part of the audit could free up our audit associates' time to really focus on the big picture and the things that have really changed in the environment that are going to require additional focus. We can't just assume, though, that our audit associates are going to be able to pivot to that new expectation, that new way of working. So it opens the door for growth and development, but organizations have a responsibility to provide the training that's needed in order to achieve that objective. It might also, change how productivity is measured. When you're used to measuring productivity by hours worked, that might not be the way to measure productivity anymore. You might need to shift to more outcome-oriented mechanisms. So that was the first item. The second one is upskilling and reskilling. So upskilling and reskilling, that can lead to new opportunities. It can lead to new responsibilities. One of the areas, immediate areas, that's going to require upskilling is just using the technologies, right? If you are writing prompts for ChatGPT, as an example, that's a different skill that not everyone has. And hopefully everyone in this room has used ChatGPT to answer questions, provide information, et cetera. But the first time I did, I was not satisfied with the results, but I couldn't figure out how to change my prompt to get the results that I needed. Trial and error, I got there, but if I had had some training, I'll get some training. If I had had some training, I might have been a little better equipped. So that's a short-term training. But also, I talked about that audit associate who needed to shift their focus and shift their mindset from what they did in the past to having this bigger picture approach. That is also something that will require upskilling and retraining. So really looking at your current workforce, looking at the skills that you have today, the skills that you need tomorrow is a really important part of this process. Also, as you're thinking about recruiting, these AI-savvy candidates are in high demand. They have choices of where to go. And so demonstrating that your organization is one that is innovative, that takes this seriously, that's going to help you attract the best candidates. The next one, number 3, is reimagining the employee experience. So, I've said a couple of times that processes are going to change. The norms that we've all experienced are going to change. And your talent professionals can work very closely with technology and business professionals to lead this change in a human-centric way. So what does that mean, a human-centric way? That is a way that creates a positive experience for the person that is experiencing this impact to their job. You want people to feel engaged. You want them to feel informed. You want them to be supportive. So increasing communications, increasing knowledge sharing, being transparent about what you're doing and what your objectives are. You might even need to reassess how your employees are evaluated. You might need to reassess how you reward your employees, how you incentivize your employees. Back to the point that I made earlier that the way that we measure productivity might change. You also need to be very, very conscious of how new roles, new processes, these changes are going to impact morale. That is really important and something to keep top of mind. So really staying focused on your employee value proposition will help you recruit, it's going to help you attract, it's going to help you retain top talent. The next one, number 4, is enabling responsible AI through workforce policy and compliance. Very, very important. If we go back to that survey that I mentioned a few minutes ago of executives in companies with $1 billion plus of revenue, a couple of things that we learned from that survey. The first one was that 72% of the respondents agree that if used effectively, Gen AI can help build and maintain stakeholder trust. So using Gen AI effectively will help you build and maintain stakeholder trust. But 45% worry that it can negatively impact trust without appropriate risk management. So leading this change, again, close collaboration between so many different partners involved in this, revisiting data governance, revisiting privacy, revisiting confidentiality safeguards, and providing clear explanations on how Gen AI systems work. helping to set ethical guidelines and policies that can mitigate bias in decisions like hiring, decisions like promotions, decisions like where you focus from a risk perspective, and then also focusing on these human-centric AI principles. Even though we see that organizations believe that Gen AI can help them build and maintain stakeholder trust, there's still many that worry that it could impact trust without the appropriate risk management. At the end of the day, with the right oversight, with the right risk-focused mentality, organizations can really demonstrate how they use Gen AI in ways that its people, its partners, and its customers will trust. Last but not least, number 5, and this is kind of, embedded in everything that I've been talking about, but leading with culture and values is so important to this equation. One of the biggest negative cited impacts of Gen AI is the impact that it has on your culture if you don't implement it carefully. So looking back again at our survey, executives are optimistic about the opportunities to increase productivity. They're optimistic about the opportunities to change how people work and to encourage innovation. But about 40% of them believe that it can lead to decreased social interactions and human connections. And about a third worry about a rise in mental health issues due to stress of job loss and uncertainty about the future. If you add that on top of the experience that we're having today, as we emerge from COVID, many organizations continue to be in hybrid work environments. Individuals aren't coming together as much as they used to. We're seeing a spike in mental health concerns across our country. When you add this on top of it, these concerns are really important to keep in mind. One of the ways that organizations can mitigate this concern is really by leading with your culture and values. So a couple of examples of how things organizations should be considering when you're leading with your core values. The first is a people-first approach. This gets back to the human centricity that I spoke about a few minutes ago. Focusing on things like empathy, focusing on collaboration, bringing people together to collaborate. That will help enhance creativity. Really making sure that these new technologies aren't seen to replace individuals in their jobs, but they will be to augment individuals in their jobs. That might not be the case in every single scenario, but augmentation of jobs so that we can all be more effective and do different things is a really important part of the equation. Values-led ethical decision-making is another example. So leveraging your corporate values to really guide the technology adoption to make sure that it's used ethically, that it's used responsibly. And then making sure from an ethical perspective that you're not using AI to discriminate, either purposefully or on accident. That is really important. The next one I've talked about before, that is open and transparent communication. So change can be challenging. It can also be frightening for some people. And when it comes to AI, this perception that the only reason that you would use AI is to eliminate jobs, that's scary for people. So keeping those lines of communication open and making sure that your employees understand what you're doing and what your goals and objectives are along the way. Learning. Strong cultures promote learning. Strong cultures promote development. Leaning into that culture of learning is important as we embark on this journey to adopt technologies like Gen AI to change the way that we work. Making sure that our teams have the skills to not only use the technologies, but to do the types of jobs that we're going to require of them in the future is really, really important. Having a bottoms-up approach. This one's hard because involving your employees in the decision-making isn't something that many organizations have done in the past, but really thinking about how you can move away from this culture that says, I'm the boss, I know what's best, I'm going to tell you what to do, to engaging your employees to provide the right types of perspectives and solutions to move you forward. That will enhance trust, and that will also build empowerment. If innovation can happen at the grassroots level, that is really true innovation. Crowdsourcing your teams to get what you need to do, asking your people to solve their own problems, that brings buy-in. So this bottoms-up grassroots approach is important. Employee well-being. I talked about mental well-being a few minutes ago, and that is very much tied into this. Supporting your employees' mental well-being, making sure that you are proactively addressing any stressors that they might have in their environment, creating an open door scenario where they feel free and comfortable to come to you with any questions, any challenges. That is really important to employee well-being. The best cultures that I've seen, they enable people to be kind, they enable people to be considerate, they enable people to be flexible with one another so that they can build relationships, so that they can learn from each other, and so that they can grow. Really encouraging your managers to lead with empathy, that is a critical step in this juncture, and encouraging your managers to check in with their employees to see how they're doing and to remind them about support or help that might be available. Last but not least is respect for diversity. So recognizing that technology can't duplicate or replace diversity of thought. Diversity of thought is still an important element of this. And then we all know that when people, this group knows more than most, that when you bring together people with diverse backgrounds, diverse viewpoints, diverse opinions, when they work together, when they bring a variety of ideas, they bring a variety of perspectives and approaches to problem solving, we get to better outcomes. So respecting that is important. We all know that diverse teams produce better output and perform better than homogeneous teams. So a couple of things to keep in mind as you are thinking about how to lean into your organization's culture and values. I've covered a lot, so I did want to just sum things up in closing. It is without a doubt that Gen AI is going to transform every single one of our businesses. It's without a doubt that Gen AI is going to transform how each and every one of us and all of our teams work. There is some really scary stuff associated with that, but there's also a tremendous opportunity to lean into your organization's culture and values, a tremendous opportunity to think about the size and shape of your workforce, how it might evolve, how you might help it evolve, how you might provide the right types of skills and training to get the outputs that you desire. But there are still hurdles as we think about the adoption. There will always be hurdles, and it's no secret that hurdles at the very beginning of the process often seem much higher, much more insurmountable than they are once you get going. So lots of opportunities, but also hurdles to be aware of as well. As the technology continues to evolve, as the technology continues to change the way we work, it is important, as I said, to stick to those things that have made us successful thus far, lean into the good, think about the bad, and move forward. So hopefully that helps you really think about the two topics that I brought to you today around how this is going to change the way we think about our workforce and how we should lean into our values and culture. Once again, it was a pleasure for KPMG to host the summit this year. It's a pleasure for me to be able to share some of my thoughts about the impact of Gen AI on our workforce. I really look forward to meeting many of you throughout the day today and seeing you tonight at the gala. So I'm going to turn it back over to Omar. Thank you.